Welcome, everyone, to the January 26th Barrington Select Board meeting. At this time, I will call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call attendance. We do have one member online requesting to participate online. So I'll start with our Vice Chair, Jim Sakosha. Are you there, Jim?
I am.
Okay, and we have a new process where there has to be a request to the seated board that you participate remotely and state the reason why. It can be illness or injury. There's no need to go into detail. And then the board must take a vote to allow that.
I would like to ask the board if they could allow me to be remote today because of an injury. Hurt my back and would like to still participate.
Very good. I would make a motion to allow vice chair to participate remotely. Do I have a second?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Tamako, aye. Gabriello, aye.
Hardikoff, aye. Could I also then begin a roll call vote, starting with you, Vice Chair? I'm sorry, a roll call attendance, starting with you, Vice Chair.
Sakosha here.
Tamako present. Gabriello here.
And Hardikoff is present. I suspect we'll have one more member joining us, and we'll note that time. In the meantime, for those of you that choose to, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would like to pause for a moment and allow those members of the select board that have spent their careers, their professional lives in healthcare to speak.
Hi, this is Joyce Capiello. Dannon and I, Dannon as a retired physician and I'm a retired nurse practitioner. We have been so just so saddened by the death of a nurse, a healthcare professional in Minnesota. And I would like to ask for a moment of silence to recognize both Alex Pretty and the other deaths that have occurred there. Also, we have a lot of the police force here, and I just want to thank you for keeping our town safe and calm. So a moment of silence. Anyone can join me.
Thank you, Joyce.
And I should have said, and for Tracy, who was a healthcare administrator.
Agenda review and approval. Any changes that you'd like to make to the consent agenda? Anything you'd like to remove, and anything that needs to be added, TA MacGyver?
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. I'll take a motion.
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda and this agenda as approved.
And a second.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Tamako, aye.
Gabriello, aye.
Hardikoff, aye. And Vice Chair?
Sakosha.
Very good. Motion carries. Thank you. I'll open up public comment. If you're online and you'd like to speak publicly, please mouse over your screen, click the little hand icon, and you'll be recognized. Seeing as no one has requested to be recognized, anyone in-house that'd like to speak publicly? No, seeing as no one in-house would like to speak publicly, I will close the first public comment session and move on to public hearings and invited guests. At this current time, I do not see anyone here to present from the school board a liaison report. Let's move to our police swearing-in ceremony. And please just make sure that the little green button's pressed so that we are picking up your voices.
TA, you got any lead in?
You did this last time too. My apologies. I would be glad to read our esteemed chief's words. So Chief Joy, Deputy Chief, and members of the crew and leadership are here to reintroduce Henry Reznicek to the community. So Officer Reznicek was hired by the Barrington Police Department in spring of 2021, left briefly in 2025. During his time with the Barrington Police Department, Officer Reznicek distinguished himself as an extremely hard worker who pays particular attention to motor vehicle enforcement. Officer Reznicek can always be relied upon to assist with open shifts and has always been quick to volunteer to help. Officer Reznicek is a practical example of community-based policing. Officer Reznicek was missed during his brief hiatus, and we are happy to have him back in our ranks.
So at Henry's request, we're going to keep this short and sweet. We're all happy to have him back from his little sabbatical. And we're just going to leave it at that. Everybody knows Officer Resnick. We know his work product. There's no sense of belaboring this. We're just going to get it done. So if you would raise your right hand. I, Henry Resnick, do solemnly swear that I will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire, and will support the constitutions thereof. So help me God. I, Henry Resnick, do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a police officer of the town of Barrington, according to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God.
Thank you.
No one wants to stay for 2 hours and hear what we want to talk about.
45 minutes.
Thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you for
out
being
there.
here. Yeah, be
Welcome.
safe.
We're not doing it fitting.
Yeah, we hear you. We do. Next up is your approval of your consent agenda. So you approved it as written. Now you're about to require a vote in order to accept it. Vice Chair, can you hear us?
Yes, it can.
Okay, motion to approve and accept the consent agenda.
Second?
And roll call beginning with Vice Chair.
Sakoshai.
Samaco, aye.
Gabriello, aye.
Hardikoff, aye. Vice Chair, I'm going to start each vote with you online just because I think we need to have a pattern that just makes it easier.
Not a problem.
Next up
Madam
is,
Chair, if I
Yep.
could, just on the community power update, which we had as an invited guest.
yes,
We have a report out from the Energy Committee. I think there were members that were going to try to make it. They had prior commitments that stacked up close to our 6:30 start time.
excellent, okay.
Would you like at a future meeting, would you like to have representatives from the Energy Committee come and present
He's walking
It's
in
Dan.
now.
on these details? Or would you like, or is this information sufficient?
Anyone?
The information I reviewed was sufficient.
Right. I mean, it's sad. I would
Yeah.
have preferred better numbers.
Mm-hmm.
The town is still with community power.
No, the town's accounts are with Eversource. So we have elected the cheapest electricity option each cycle. So we started with the community power rates. Some of our accounts were never on community power rates because of the solar. The Community Power Coalition does not have the ability to net meter solar surplus. So all solar installations in Barrington, those accounts weren't picked up initially, and until such time that they can.
We switched the last time.
But for our accounts that don't have solar, we switched for the last cycle, and we'll stay there.
This cycle.
Yep.
So
So
we
and
see
we
different,
do
okay.
still have some accounts on contract also. So we have consistently entered multi-year contracts, and we knew that that might be a more fruitful option for some of our accounts as well. So we continue to monitor the market. And I'll point out, Doug Langdon has consistently served the town and the school district. He's a resident in town, was on the rec commission for a long time, and the advisory budget committee. He has a energy brokerage company based out of Massachusetts. So he has volunteered his assistance for many years to help us find the most affordable options. So I will let them know that this information is sufficient, and we'll look forward to future updates.
Okay.
Thank
very
you.
Good. At 6:38, we are joined by Select Board Member Dannon Manschreck, and I just would like to make note of that. Can you just say your name and here at 6:38 PM, sir?
38.
Thank you, sir. Next up, appointed and elected terms expiring. Do you need to speak to that? I know you posted everything online.
I do not.
Okay. And then in reference to the New Hampshire 9/11 Data Operations Liaison, there is a request that we move to place Tiffany as the direct contact to that and as the alternative, John Janelle. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we would take a motion at this time.
I move that we appoint Tiffany Cottle as the primary 911 data operations liaison and John Janelle as the secondary, and to authorize the town administrator to sign the appointment form.
Very good. And we have a second, and starting with Vice Chair Sakosha.
Sakosha,
Samaco, aye.
Capello, aye.
Answer, aye.
Hardikoff, aye. The motion carries. Thank you all for that. And staff report.
Thank you. We have gone over our January work anniversary, so I'll move on to 2026 town meeting information. The warrant webpage is populated at barrington.nh.gov/2026 warrant. This includes all of the information that's in the community voter guide and also a lot more. This has details about all of the notification and information sharing activities that we perform each year and organizes those all in one place. There's a linkable table of contents so you can navigate back and forth. There's also direct links to all of the backup documentation for any area. So for somebody looking to take a deep dive, that's a great place to go. If you want to take a deep dive just on Article 11, the budget binder webpage, barrington.nh.gov/2026 budget, it's the best place to go there. Advisory Budget Committee meetings are in a playlist on our YouTube channel. The link's in the town administrator report. We mentioned the open office positions that are up for election. We're currently in the sign-up period now. It continues until this Friday. The town clerk's office is open from 3 to 5 this Friday for appointment, to sign up for elected positions only. Deliberative session is on Saturday. As you know, that's the first part of our two-part process called the official ballot referenda form of government, or SB2, which was the enabling legislation. So that will start at 9 a.m. at the middle school. We'll host our deliberative session in the cafeteria again this year. That worked well, and the big advantage is the audio-visual equipment is set up and it stays there for a couple of months for the school. They hold their meetings there and they have their deliberative session there. So we cut down on a lot of staff setup and breakdown time, and we save on audio visual. So we will do that. I wanted to provide a deliberative session schedule, which the printed schedule in your packet has been updated since I sent you a new PDF, and then I'll have a new printed copy for you at deliberative session with your materials on Saturday. Select Board Member Manshek won't be able to join us at deliberative session, so I reorganized which Select Board member is introducing which article, and so we can all share in that responsibility. This process of introducing articles, historically, the Select Board would kind of first and second articles, but that serves no procedural purpose. So what we've done for the last few years, which works well, is we just allow each Select Board member to introduce articles, say a couple of notes. I was mentioning earlier, it's A-OK to editorialize a little bit and talk about what that article means to you or what is impactful to you about that article or otherwise. And so I've included notes in the PowerPoint presentation and summarized those here so that you can draw from those notes. Some of them aren't really exciting articles like collective bargaining, renegotiation, and vote. Not a lot to say about that. So you have some notes in there for you. So if you have any questions about the schedule, happy to take those now, or we can move on. Something else that we do every year, our last Select Board meeting before deliberative session, is check in now that the warrant is finalized, including the petitioned articles that we received, and see if the Select Board as a collective wants to plan or prepare any amendments to be introduced at deliberative session. Now, I will point out that any individual Select Board member still retains the right as a voting resident in Barrington to introduce an amendment or first or second an amendment at deliberative session. But sometimes, as a matter of policy, the Select Board wants to introduce an amendment on behalf of the Select Board to articles. Now, typically those are petitioned articles because the Select Board sponsors the rest of the articles, and unless they had change of heart, that isn't usually necessary. So are there any articles that the Select Board as a collective group wants to plan and prepare an amendment for on Saturday?
So just as a clarification, so residents can propose amendments as well?
Yes, anybody.
So they can't change the intent of the warrant article, but they could change the dollar amount?
No, they can change the intent. They can't change the topic. So, it is still possible to nullify or change the intent of a warrant article at deliberative session. And the moderator, it will explain that well at deliberative session, but you can't change the topic. Barrington, if you're interested in a little law history, Barrington was actually the Supreme Court case that changed the dynamic in New Hampshire. A lot of times what the deliberative session would do in order to nullify an article is they would just change the article to say 2C.
Yeah.
And then period, and then all the rest. And that was challenged all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court found that no, you need to maintain the topic. It was petitioned as an article with a topic. That topic needs to remain. So you can change the purpose. You can change an appropriation to 0. You can change a we want to do this to a we don't want to do this. And so that's all possible, but the topic has to stay the same. So you can't change the topic. If somebody says, I want to add $50,000 to the Bridge and Culvert Capital Reserve, you can't say, no, we want to add $50,000 to the library technology instead. So any select board sponsored amendments?
Do we want to propose a change to the petitioned article regarding the amount going to our conservation group?
Well, let's talk about that. What change might we make?
They're currently at 75%,
Correct.
and the proposed amount is to bring it to 50.
Yes.
I would like us to be ready to maintain the 75%. We just did a beautiful acreage conservation. Again, expanding our 47% of conserved land and water mass to probably boosting us somewhere up to 40. I'm sorry, did I say 47?
Yeah, so that number includes current use, which is,
Okay.
the conserved acreage is much smaller, permanently conserved is much smaller than that, but still very impactful in the
It's around
community.
20%.
It is. With current use land, that's gets you close to 50. But every, 500 additional acres is significant.
So it has been, at least for the 7 years of my involvement, key to ensuring the rural character of this town that those dollars be managed by conservation.
What's the rationale to go to 50?
So the rationale was the primary petitioner was looking to make $50,000 of local government funding available for invasive species mitigation. $50,000, if you take a 5-year average of the proceeds to the conservation fund from land use change tax, $50,000 is equal to about 25%. So there's been about $200,000 on average total collections. Last year was a lot more than that, but that's the average. And so the petitioner suggested reducing the land use change tax to conservation fund 25%, which, if the math tells you it would be about $50,000, and ask for a capital reserve contribution of the same amount in the idea that there would be a no net tax impact if both articles passed. So that's the rationale as it was described to me.
But the trouble with that is the way that it's presented, one could pass without the other. And that's a pretty significant risk. I thought we were only talking, about the board-sponsored ones, but I actually agree with you. I'm very concerned that the reduction to the conservation fund will pass, but the capital reserve will not. And that the rationale behind that for the voters might be to put more funds into the general fund, but that's not the intent here. That's not the intent of the petitioner. So I would agree with you. I think if we can come up with some language that we can propose there to see if we can get people on board, there's just, a bigger risk than reward with this. And we're already looking into ways to do this that would be better. The Conservation Commission is looking into ways to do this that would be better. It's an active topic of discussion.
And as I said at the last meeting when we voted on this, I would really like to see us to step back for a year, bring all the groups together, have a committee, really hash this out, and just come up with a plan that we can all get behind.
Mm-hmm. We had at one point, and I think it was on this board, and it might have even been me, but I really can't recall, talked about a $5,000 beginning fund to see if the residents' appetite was there to protect against invasive species, using that first $5,000 for testing or what have you, but to see if the residents in fact wish to approach this issue. And that could be the second article. We could ask for that reduction to go to 5,000, because I think we had at one point proposed that in a public meeting.
September 23rd.
Was it September
yeah, that was
23rd?
Madam
Yeah, it
Chair,
was
yeah.
me. So if we did both of those, if we considered the language for both of those and are ready to propose that change, it would, in my mind, be more in keeping with the rural character and supporting conservation, while at the same time allowing testing for all bodies of water, not just specific ones. Something to consider.
Yeah, I think we would have to be pretty specific about what we want that warrant article.
The second one.
To look like if we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we can develop the criteria for that now.
I would
That's
want
one
it,
of the concerns
yeah.
I had about
I would want it to be considered for testing for invasive species for, you know, any body of water over how many, what's the body of water off of 125, Winkley Pond? How many acres is that? A half acre or 2 acre? I mean, I think that's a way we could approach it.
So does the state do any testing? For
Yes.
invasive species? So I would want to know how much testing they're doing. And
Okay.
I know it's cyanobacteria blooms, which I don't know that if that's covered under invasive species. So that's a question.
I think
the
it
state
actually
tests
is, yeah.
Looks now, they don't generally come out
Okay.
and test.
So this is kind of where we're at with this, is that there's so much to be learned, as you've pointed out in the last meeting, that I think we need language that if we approach the first one and voters would like to make that change back to the 75%, so that that petitioned warrant article is not going to impact the Conservation Commission. And then be ready for language for the second one, either to bring it to 0 or to bring forward a vote to see if there is an appetite to form a committee to explore what would happen with dollars for an invasive species fund.
So perhaps changing the language of the first one to be to maintain the current contribution from land use change tax into the conservation fund as is, and sever the relationship between that petitioned article and the other petitioned article.
So
And to
I
see
saw
on the
some head
second
nods.
one, potentially, to see if the residents are interested in creating a committee to explore what invasive species funds might be used for and create a plan.
And how to identify what would fall under the, what bodies of water would fall under.
Sure,
right, to use
and what
that.
invasive, yeah,
Yes, this is all.
in
should have been-
collaboration with the state of New Hampshire.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in summary, from what I'm hearing, Article 31 is the first petition article to bring land use change tax to conservation fund from 75% to 50%. What I'm hearing is the select board wants to be prepared with an amendment that would change the ballot question to ask if the town would maintain the amount of land use change tax collected, et cetera, at 75%, period. And I've kind of heard as part of the conversation that maybe letting the floor discuss or introduce their own amendments or something and to see where it goes would be appropriate. But if the discussion is concluding and the select board and doesn't have this intent, the select board would be ready to introduce an amendment to effectuate that change. Is that kind of what I'm hearing? Okay, great. Now to the second article, I heard a couple of things, but I think the cream that rose to the top was changing from creating a capital reserve and contributing to that capital reserve which is contingent on the first article, to asking to establish a study committee to evaluate the most appropriate ways to fund controlled treatment and removal of invasive aquatic vegetation and fauna in the water, and not make it contingent on anything, just standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some language about what we need to develop criteria.
And develop criteria. So identify funding, a study committee to identify funding for funding options for controlled treatment and removal, and the criteria for spending such funds. Something like
I
that.
would be happy with that.
Okay, seeing nods. Okay.
Okay.
I will draft amendments to both of those. Is there a member who would like to have those and be ready to introduce an amendment should the
it.
floor not be?
Who's presenting this one?
Good question.
Oh, wait, it's the petitioner, because these are petitions,
Ha,
right?
good answer.
So, yeah, I could do that.
Okay, so I will get the select person, Samako, the two.
Yep. And Vice Chair, are you in agreement with this? There's four of us kind of nodding our heads here, but I'd like you to weigh in.
I am as well.
Oh, okay.
What did he say?
He said, yes, he's in support of it as well. So do we need a motion for this, or do you just feel comfortable with the
I'd like a
discussion?
motion
Okay,
with both, and we've captured the intent.
okay.
And so a motion to prepare those amendments to be introduced by select person Samako on Saturday.
Okay, so motion to prepare, what is it called? An amendment? Oh,
Amendments.
motion to prepare a legal amendment to Article 31 and to be presented by select person Samako at the deliberative session.
Do you want to do 31 and 32 together?
And a motion to modify Article 32 should the public not choose to modify, introducing and creating a study committee with criteria being set forth in how to expend funds for invasive species. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Could I have a roll call starting with Vice Chair?
Sakoshai.
Samako, aye.
Capello, aye.
Magic eye.
And Hardikoff, aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have those ready. And any other interest in amendments? Okay, terrific. Moving on. Kids vote is happening again. I'm also very excited to share that I've had a couple of conversations in a meeting with one of a new position in the Secretary of State's office relative to civic education and voter engagement. Her name's Lily Wu. She's a lifetime career civics teacher who was hired as the first one in this role. And so she and the Secretary of State are very energized by the Barrington Kids Vote program that we do here. And so they are working on basically creating a program that can be rolled out statewide for communities that are interested. So I sat down with her and put together kind of like a toolkit of what we do and how we do it, things to watch out for, what's important. And it sounds like they're going to try to trial it in Loudoun this year. They're going to, I think the branding that they've arrived on is future Granite State voters. And so their goal is to, just like we do, focus on the local elections and improving voter turnout on local elections. So kind of exciting that the good work is spreading. So Barrington Kids Vote will have a number of questions, including selecting 2027 sticker designs. There was a new initiative this year called Barrington's Top Dog to promote early registration of dogs. We spend a lot of time, energy, and money tracking down people who don't register their dogs. So this is a fun way to raise some awareness there and encourage people to register their dogs early. So Barrington Kids will choose from 6 randomly selected dogs to be identified as Barrington's Top Dog. And we'll also vote on the dog tag color for 2027. The I voted sticker designs are due here in a little bit on February 19th. And so we'll be looking for help in narrowing down those sticker designs to appear on the ballot.
Connor, before we move on to the next item,
Yes.
I had a question on the PowerPoint on slide 21, Article 11, the operating budget. On the graph, it shows the state aid was up a little bit for this year.
It has been up
So,
consistently.
I mean, our tourism has been down by 30%, so our meals and room must be down. Will we not see that until this year, 26?
So
I can't figure out
complicated
how it went
question.
up.
So the New Hampshire Municipal Association has an excellent document. It's a packet of the history of state aid, which kind of tracks all of the various changes. Relative specifically to rooms and meals, what the statute says in its most recent iteration is that 30% of rooms and meals tax collections are distributed to municipalities, essentially based on population, period. So it turns out to be like $100 a person, $100 a resident you get for rooms and meals tax distribution. For many years, many recent years, in House Bill 2, the trailer bill for the state budget, the legislature has suspended that state law and just chosen an arbitrary number to provide as rooms and meals tax distribution, which of course is much lower than what 30% of the collections is. You'll remember when rooms and meals tax distribution started going up, Governor Sununu worked with the legislature and made it a priority that that commitment we return to that commitment of 30%. So we've seen our rooms and meals tax rise as a result. So I don't have the exact numbers here, but a couple $100,000 over a period of years. So it's all look back, right? So they provide that to us at the end of the year for the prior year. And so we've seen increases as a result of returning to the 30%. But as that, if and when that revenue goes down, we'll see that essentially the next year. The doesn't end there though, because there have consistently been pieces of legislation introduced to play with rooms and meals tax distribution more, either suspend the 30% or make other changes. This last legislative cycle, it looked an awful lot like they were just going to pick a number equal to last year's distribution and say that was it. Now, some municipal circles said that could work in our favor because if collections go down, but then there is an amendment that was introduced that says that would be the maximum, up to 30%, no more than, So this legislative cycle, there's an initiative, a rather interesting initiative, to make winners and losers out of the rooms and meals tax. So this legislation would, Barrington would be a winner, but what this legislation would do is basically any community, the property rich communities would have a dramatically reduced portion of rooms and meals tax or no rooms and meals tax. One of the pieces of legislation says that if your per capita value is over $500,000, so if you have $500,000 of assessed value for every person in your community, then you receive nothing. And then the rest is distributed among everybody else. Barrington does not have 500,000 per person, so we would collect much more than we do now. So I don't expect that will probably pass, but it has been a constant target in the State House to pull levers on. So. Yeah. Much longer answer than I'm sure you expected, but it's a very complicated, state aid's a very complicated thing.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Of course. Moving on, and on the topic of legislative activity, NHMA is attracting members to participate in the legislative policy process. So this happens every 2 years in sync with the legislative cycle. And so NHMA gets together in 3 committees to evaluate potential policy changes. And those committees usually meet a couple of times over the summer, and the ending process is the policy conference in September, where they vote on these new policy positions, which is what guides NHMA's legislative advocacy through the legislative cycle. So if anybody's interested in getting involved, they're looking for members. Dannon participated a couple of years ago.
It's an interesting process. The bigger cities tend to have either that or someone has done something to, in a town, something weird has happened. But the bigger Manchester, Concord, Nashua tend to dominate a little bit, but there are some interesting things out there, and it's contribute. This, I don't think I'll participate this time around.
Can you describe the schedule that you kept in reference to that?
Not there 3 times.
Yeah, 3 to 5 meetings. They're usually on Friday, but the
At
committee.
New Hampshire Municipal Association
In-person meetings at NHMA's headquarters.
over the summer?
Yeah, the kickoff is in April. And
Late
Okay.
spring and summer. It was an interesting process.
Yeah, I would love to be a part of it. This probably isn't the year for it. I have that 5th grandchild arriving in April, and I have a very nice Vikings River cruise for 10 days scheduled in September. So, but I would like to participate should I be someone that the residents choose to have sit in this role again, so.
Right. Actually, I have interest, but then it says the organizational meeting is April 3rd, and I'm actually out of town. so.
Okay.
One of the issues, I mean, any of us can submit to
correct.
the committee.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily institute it there.
Correct.
It's discussed at that point. So if we have something that we think should be a policy, we can send that to them and then they'll evaluate it. It's not like they're the only people who can make policy. We can make policy too.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't generally in Barrington, we haven't regularly found ourselves at odds with the advocacy that they already do in their policies. Dannon's point about the cities, you know, the political interests of some of the larger municipalities is sometimes at odds with what the New Hampshire Municipal Association does and what the state's trying to do. Maybe they're more progressive or there's a hyper-local issue that they're trying to solve. And so a lot of times they will prepare to try to get NHMA, you know, fighting their fight. They'll prepare policy proposals and fight for them pretty strong at the policymaking process in order, you know, and generally the pet projects don't succeed, you know, because it's a membership organization. There's 234. Everybody gets the same vote. And so that's, you know, that happens.
That may be the opportunity as far as environmental regulation for those air tests that I have been trying so hard to have considered throughout the state of New Hampshire and the impact of what could happen in an unregulated environment with our air. So maybe that's where that could take place.
I can get you some recent legislation that's been proposed relative to landfill siting. There's been a lot of work done trying to balance the environmental impact of industry and the need for industry. And I'll tell you that the strongest voices in the room are industry.
Sure.
And
Well, they didn't get their way.
no, but they're bad. I mean, it's.
Hence why those air tests and, you know, whether they take place every 2 years or every 3 years or every 5 years, whatever it is that's set by municipal, you know, policy could have an impact that you would not allow the air quality to change. So something to consider.
One of the most recent pieces of legislation for waste landfill siting is another example of the state trying to take away local control. So for that exact reason of, you know, things that you can regulate in a zoning relative to where something is or what impact it can have. In Concord, they write legislation that says, we don't care what your local rules say. This is, you can do this. And so unfortunately, this trend in Concord is the opposite.
Do you think it's possible that we could jointly do a role, like Dannon could go the first time and I could go subsequent ones?
I think they like to have consistency, but I'll ask the executive director.
Okay, something to consider.
Moving on, just a quick update, the police and fire administrative assistant. So we had a vacancy in the fire administrative assistant role, and after exploring some options, we're going to trial having the police administrative assistant fill those duties and responsibilities for an 8-month time period. And it has some pros and cons. The biggest pro is we'll have availability during all business hours, you know, 46 to 48 hours a week. We won't have as many net productive hours as having 2 staff members, but there will be a lot of efficiencies in things like the processing of accounts payable and the coordination with other staff. And so obviously the service window is right there. We can, queue the phones in. And so we appreciate the willingness of that employee to take that on and see how it goes.
So that employee would always be working overtime?
Yes.
46 to 48 hours?
Correct. Yep. And so that employee is a member of the police union. So a lot of those details of employment terms are contracted anyways. This is an employee who has consistently had work elsewhere. She's worked in Rollinsford and in New Durham outside of her work in Barrington on evenings and on the weekends. And so this would be an opportunity for her to work in Barrington, give up work outside and focus her time and effort here. So I will keep you posted if that is successful and makes sense. It was explored a number of years ago and didn't make sense at the time. And so it was kind of a plan that was taken back off the shelf. Moving on, building department software upgrade. So as you know, this will be music to Jim's ears. This has been something that we've been exploring for a long time. Our building permit software is antiquated at best. It is a program that they've promised improvements and the improvements haven't materialized. And so it's been a priority of Jamie. Unfortunately, Jamie's been very busy being down a staff member and with all of the building activity going on in town. And so once he had a short list, he got together with the Public Works Director, and the iWork program that was picked up in the Public Works Department is one of the leading software providers for a variety of software. And so that really tipped Jamie over the edge on being the appropriate software solution for the building department. The biggest thing this will do for optimizing the building department workflow is residents and contractors will be able to electronically fill out permits. So there's no more manual data entry. Somebody fills out on paper. We have a staff person fill that in. We'll also be able to do the permit reports electronically as well. Right now they go out with carbon copy sheets and do a permit inspection, and they come back and do the data entry, and there's a lag in getting the people to sign off and everything. And so it will be a tremendous optimization. And the big thing, that department, not only because we're down a staff member, but because that administrative assistant is the assessing administrative assistant, the capacity of that department is very, very low. And so this is something that without adding staff members, we'll be able to optimize our process and create some additional capacity at not much additional cost. And so really looking forward to rolling this out, and it will have customer service impacts and optimization impacts. Moving on, I'm very glad to report that through strong advocacy from the select board and staff and others, we have secured 2 projects in the state's 10-year plan. One was never taken out, which is the Beauty Hill Road intersection project. They have funding in that one. The one that was taken out temporarily was the pedestrian improvements on Route 9 and 125. And our advocacy and our efforts in the town center forced the group to reconsider, and that project is back in. We're not done, and our executive counselor gave us an update on those projects, and so I included that letter in your packet. That's all I have.
Okay. Administrative office. Administrative. No?
Office administrator.
Office administrator.
The only thing I have for you is a grant agreement for wet signatures. It's floating around. That's it.
The last one signed, there no place for my initials. Is that okay?
No, no.
3 initials.
Yeah, they do that. That's okay.
I'm going to ask, let's see, select board members to do their report outs, beginning with Vice Chair Sakosha online. Jim, can I ask you to just turn up the volume a little though on your computer? It was really muted as you voted.
Is this better?
A little bit more.
If you can go closer to your microphone, I think that's the...
Okay. How about this?
Not so good yet.
But better.
So I have not had a chance to reach out to the rec department, or Parks and Rec, I should say, excuse me. and have not got an update yet.
Okay, very good. Next up is Alexandra Samaco.
The zoning board did not meet this month. There were no petitions, so nothing to report.
Okay, and
Planning
Yes.
board, we had two, they weren't even extensions, things that have expired, and the residents chose not to renew them. One was a subdivision on Beauty Hill Road, and the other was Wildlife Encounters plan to build a barn. So those are no longer happening. And we spent a time looking at zoning amendments and approved the last two. There will be a very detailed description of form-based zoning, which is on the ballot as a pilot to do with the Dove Development Group in the town center, and that would be the area behind the Christmas Dove. So that's something I hope residents have some time to work through, because it's a lot of pages to think through.
okay,
But it seems that we've never been able to get the town center off the ground, that idea that residents have supported since 2005 at least. We had some consultants come in and they said part of it was our zoning really prohibited developing what we wanted there. So the form-based code allows more conversation and more flexibility, because the intent is to do a very walkable, very people-oriented area. And hopefully this form-based zoning will encourage that.
Mr. Mantrick.
Yes, I attended the school board's deliberative or budget hearing. There were, I think, after the Pledge of Allegiance, I think there were 15 people there, 14 of whom were part of the school.
Mhm.
So not much input from anyone outside the school community. ABC went through its approval process. I didn't make that. I had an appointment that day. And the library is putting books in place, so not much going on there either, so we'll have more.
Okay. Energy Committee met. They are working on a new source for financing energy improvements and renewables, currently not being used in New Hampshire. It's called 2C Pacer. They've continued their work in meeting with the school district to discuss ways that various equipment could be modified, changed out to reduce the energy usage there. And they're working, as is the Conservation Committee, to align their websites with the town websites so that residents of the town can do one-stop shopping when trying to find information. Next meeting for them is coming up. Is it tomorrow for conservation, you said? Thursday, okay. So Thursday evening for conservation, and yeah, I think that's about it on the report outs. At this time, we'll open the second public comment. If anyone online wishes to speak, please
Madam
mouse.
Chair?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I think you may have missed a page in your agenda. We still have old business strategic plan and the Governmental Accounting Standards Board to cover before we get there.
Oh, my apologies.
I just want to make sure that.
Oh,
the
under
public
new
has a chance
business?
to-
There's an old business and a new business.
Oh, okay. Do you want to handle that?
I would be glad to.
Okay.
So under old business, as we prepare the town report entry and we give an update to the community at deliberative session, we always kind of revisit our goals and strategic plan at this time of the year. As you know, this year was an exceptionally exciting year. In April, the select board established the first in a really long time, multi-year strategic plan for the town, the strategic plan 2025 to 2030. It established 4 key focus areas, 12 goals among those focus areas, and drilled down into 67 separate action items to support those goals and the work that we've done. So it's been 8 months. It's been 8 months since we have established that strategic plan. And we've tracked this. Every town administrator report has goal icons, which identify how we're working towards our strategic plan throughout the process. So to date, through January, we have made a really remarkable amount of progress in accomplishing what we've set out to do in the strategic plan. Specifically, 30% of those 67 action items are complete or substantially complete. Further, we have spent a considerable amount of time on our first key focus area, which is organizational excellence. And the first goal in that focus area, and the first goal that we have in the entire strategic plan relating to fiscal responsibility and delivering high quality services, that single goal was addressed by the select board. 26% of the time we spent addressing goals in the past 8 months was spent on that fiscal responsibility and delivering high quality services to residents. So what I've done is I've taken our strategic plan and created a review document. I think this document will be especially helpful for a couple of reasons. First, I think this will be a great way to look back and see what progress we have done. Where do we stand with X? You can go back and look at a goal, you can go back and look at an action item, and there's anywhere from a sentence to a couple of paragraphs about what we've done. I've also included embedded links to any of the work products or the results that we have come to in any of our action items. Additionally, and maybe more importantly, we'll be able to take this, build on this, and when we meet in April, and I've set a preliminary date of April 6th, when we meet in April to do our strategic planning, we can take this and build from this, right? So those action items that are complete or substantially complete, we can set to the side and work on replacing those. We can revisit the goals and make sure that it captures everything we want and look at adding goals. We can look at the key focus areas and make sure that's still where we want to focus our time. And so this is obviously available on the town's website, and a great way to take, again, those discrete action items. How are we accomplishing the goals that we've set for ourselves, and where do we stand with those, all in one place, so that you can look at any individual item or any goal or key focus area all together. We hear frequently, and I think preservation of rural character is the best example. You know, when I started in Barrington, people had been talking for decades about preserving Barrington's rural character. And when you talk to people about it, nobody really defined it or described what it meant or could articulate what it is the select board is or was doing in order to accomplish that. So yeah, we all want to do this. And this board over a number of years has talked about what that means and talked about how to do it and how to do it through the master plan, and how to do it through zoning amendments, and how to do it through conservation of land. And now we have a key focus area on preservation of rural character. We have goals within that preservation of rural character and action items that we can point to and say, this is what we do, that we're not sitting on our hands. So when somebody says, oh, Barrington is changing and, you know, we're going to be the next Dover or something like that, we can look and say, hey, listen, we don't have control over everything, but this is what we do have control over, and this is what we are doing, right? Conserving 500 acres is really important. Having, you know, anywhere from dozens to, you know, in this year, 9 zoning amendments every single year to be able to tweak our land use rules and make sure it aligns with what residents want in their community. So anyways, this is a really valuable look into what we've done over the last 8 months, and gives us a platform to look ahead and what we will do. So happy to answer any questions or take any feedback. Obviously, the first time we've done this, so if you have structural suggestions on the look and feel, I'm happy to take those and tweak that.
Just a couple of comments. I mean, this is a fabulous document. I mean, just to see it laid out, I was like, oh, we did that. Yeah, we did that. Under community engagement, I'm thrilled that we might be looking at the back end of our website.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope they look at our search engine, because I think that's been needed an upgrade.
Definitely.
And the other is a personal request. I see you have April 6th as a strategic planning. I will not be able to make that meeting.
Okay. It won't be the 6th then. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, is the 13th, are you available?
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
13th
just
if
that
we
one.
pushed it up? Okay.
Trust us. I would trust you. I just would like, I'm selfish.
No.
I want to be part of the process.
Yeah, having us all there is helpful. Yeah, maybe what we look at doing, so I think I have out to April in the town administrator report. but we could look at just rescheduling that meeting altogether. So that's usually, we have a meeting in March, which is the reorganizing meeting. And then that would be our first meeting in April. So we have, right now, we have meetings the April 6th and April 20th. So we could look at going a week earlier, which I think would be the end of March.
I won't be here.
You won't be
Wait,
here.
no, I'll be back. I'll be back by the nighttime.
March 30th.
Yes, just driving back from New Jersey.
So we could do March 30th, or we could look at like April 13th, and then we could look at pushing the second meeting in April out to maybe the 27th. So we don't need to make those decisions now, and but it might be something that we want to pencil in even before the election, just so we have an opportunity to plan.
Okay.
Look at your calendars. Any other questions, feedback?
Nope. Moving on to governmental accounting standards.
All right, this is a really weird one.
Yeah, I got to tell you, so I just want to be clear about one line that's written in here.
Okay.
There is one line that says, it would be unfortunate to have a qualified opinion included in the audit. I think what you were trying to say was maybe not have this included in the audit?
Nope, I meant what I said.
Okay,
A qualified opinion is a black mark on your audit.
okay.
So they're saying this is our opinion, but we're qualifying it, right? We need to say that we think everything's good, but we can't say for certain because you don't have X, Y, Z. So Select Person Hardikoff, it was actually you through resident interaction that brought us into compliance with GASB 75. Member the community named Tom Daniels approached you and said, hey, I saw
Understood. Yep,
Barrington's,
yeah.
well, just for background
go
for
ahead.
everybody else. I saw that in your audit that, you know, they can't say that it materially represents the financial status of the town because you don't meet this standard. And so we started meeting that standard, and we pay $4,500 every 2 years to have this actuary to come in and, in my opinion, tell us information that is entirely inconsequential. So if we had discretionary post-employment benefits, this information would be really valuable because we'd be able to look at it and say, what is the impact of these post-employment benefits that we provide? New Hampshire retirement system is not discretionary. We're a member of New Hampshire retirement system. We have to always be a member of New Hampshire retirement system or pay a huge bill to exit. Our health insurance, our risk pool health insurance requires in New Hampshire state law that the retirees have the opportunity to participate at their cost in that health plan.
That's us.
Those are our only post-employment retirement or post-employment benefit that exist. Now, a community like Dover, who extended a health subsidy to their employees in perpetuity, it's a really significant number for them. It matters for them. Our number, they calculated, it's a number. There is an impact that's carried on our balance sheet, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to make a different policy decision. So we bit the bullet and spent the $4,500 a year. And now this year, because the projection from our actuary, he projected that the estimate would be 4.08%, but the actual for the mid-year, which was 2025, was 4.76%. So now he has said that these numbers don't accurately reflect because they're off by 68 hundredths of a percent. And so now the roll forward report would be $2,250. So of course we went to our auditing firm and said, gosh, you know, do we really need to do this? And they said it's our firm's position that if you don't do it, you'll have a qualified opinion. And we will say that we can't say for certain that your financial statement accurately represents your financials because we don't have all the information to make that opinion. So I wanted to put this in front of you because I really don't love spending all this money on things that I don't think matters. I also don't love the idea of having a qualified opinion on our audit because our finance administrator takes great pride in it. She's just as torn as I am. I certainly wouldn't not do the roll forward without a decision of the select board, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to weigh in and set the policy direction here for our GASB 75 compliance.
I hate the idea that I feel that we're being somewhat strong-armed in this because I do think for the purposes of applying for grants, having any type of qualifying opinion like that sitting out there can have an impact on how our financials are viewed, and we know that they are, for lack of a better term, spotless. And so while I hate the idea of spending $2,250, I don't think it's needless if we're going to continue to aggressively pursue grants. One woman's opinion. Anyone else have an idea, thought?
So was this a mistake or is it just difficult to project accurately?
I think it's difficult to project accurately. And my guess, having followed the employment benefit market very closely, I'm sure it's just the dynamic costs of health insurance, which resulted in a missed projection. So they project for 2 years, that's what an actuary is going to do. And this bell has never been rung before, but apparently they do, halfway through that process, they do a true up to make sure, okay, hey, how close were my projections? And oh, by the way, these projections are the same. They don't have to do unique projections for Barrington because it's New Hampshire Retirement System and Health Trust. They do those projections and then apply them to our roster, essentially, right? So, so they were off, very likely because of the astronomical increase in health costs over the last year.
I mean, personally, I think we have to do it, but then I have a second comment. Do we need to continue with the GASB 75?
If we don't want a qualified opinion on our audit, we will have to comply with all Government Accounting Standard Board guidance.
I would make a motion that we would expend the $2,250. And again, only because the potential for return on that is certainly much higher. If we're, looking at CDFA, CDBG funding, any of that, and we are one of the municipalities without this, I feel like it knocks us down a few pegs.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call beginning with Vice Chair Sakosha.
Sakosha, aye.
Demaco, aye.
Capello, aye.
Mancheck, aye.
Hardikoff, aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we've done our reports, and thank you for letting me know that I missed 2 pages in here. In reference to public comment, I'm going to open up the second public comment. If you'd like to speak and you're online, just mouse over your screen, click on raise your hand, and you'll be recognized. Seeing anyone who'd like to be? Nope. And there is no one in-house other than the select board and staff, so I am going to close the second public comment. Do we need a non-public?
We do, for reputation.
So, go
I
ahead.
move we enter non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A3 for the purposes of reputation.
And we have a second from Dan and Manschreck. Thank you. Could I have a roll call beginning with Mr. Sakosha online?
Sakosha, aye.
Demaco, aye.
Capello, aye.
Mancheck, aye.
Hardikoff, aye. Motion carries. The select board will enter non-public for purpose of reputation at
I'll email you a link, Jim.
7:33
Okay.
or 4, however long it Tell me when
You're
we're
live.
back. Okay. We have exited our non-public at 7:55. There is nothing for the board to report. Meeting minutes will be available as typed. And could I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I move we adjourn at 7:55 PM.
And a second.
I'll second it.
A roll call starting with Vice Chair.
Sakosha, aye.
Demaco, aye.
Capello, aye.
Mantrick, aye.
Hardikoff, aye. Thank you all very much for your volunteerism tonight. Drive safe home.